for space given future enrollment growth. Right now we're seeing more overcrowding in our schools, class sizes going up in all grades, hundreds of kids on kindergarten waiting lists for next year. Meanwhile, there is nearly $1 billion in capital funds that's allocated towards prison construction. Prison construction that in Brooklyn and the Bronx, that communities don't want and the city doesn't need. Because the prison, while school population is going up, the prison population is going down. And if we move $1 million from prison construction to school construction, that automatically will generate $2 billion to provide new seats, because the state provides matching funds for every dollar that we spend, which would be a great and very valuable stimulus to the local economy.
I don't think there is a dispute. We talk about the need for classroom and classroom space and smaller class size as opposed to jails and prisons. The cost alone is ridiculous, but the cost of human life. If we invest in classrooms, if we invest in schools, those are investments that we don't have to make in jails and prisons. There is $1 billion in the budget for jails in downtown Brooklyn, the reopening and expansion of the Brooklyn House of Detention, and the new jail in the Bronx. Something that isn't needed. We need to take those capital dollars and turn it back into classroom space.
When I released my report, Crowded Out, that gave a snapshot of the overcrowding crisis in so many of our neighborhoods, it was very clear that we needed a better and bigger capital plan. But now, when you compare the 75% capacity rate at Rikers Island, meaning there's 25% more space there, and then you put it up against neighborhoods in Manhattan and find out that schools are 120, 130% over capacity, do the math. It's very simple. We should take the money from prison expansion, put it into school and classroom expansion, and then guess what? If we do our job, we're not going to need to expand the prisons, right? Because if kids stay away from jail because they're in the classroom, then everybody wins, especially the children.
As the chair of the Education Committee, I have communicated loud and clear to the Department of Education, loud and clear to the mayor's office. New York One, radio station, TV station, Daily News, Post, Time. You do the poll. Ask New Yorkers, $900 million for a new prison in the Bronx and to open the Brooklyn House of Detention, or $900 million to build new schools. I guarantee you that New Yorkers overwhelmingly will say, we need schools. That's the bottom line. And so I will be writing a letter to Mayor Bloomberg today as the chair of the Education Committee and as a member of the City Council, urging him to change his priority from building prisons to building new schools in order to make New York City work. Thank you very much.
Doesn't it make sense to use the money instead of incarcerating, building prisons, using that money for education? We cannot repeat the mistakes that we made in the 1970s when we failed to build. We lost a generation of kids from the 70s through the 90s. If we make these same decisions again today, we're going to lose another generation. In the long term, it makes more sense to build schools than prisons.
As teachers, it's very clear to us that we teach by modeling and by raising expectations of our students at all times. And it is clear at this point in time, if we do not build the facilities that children need and able to succeed, we are not raising their expectations. And it is sending a clear message to the children and the parents of New York City that the priority cannot be to build facilities for incarceration when there is such a high need, and it almost to the point of a critical need in so many neighborhoods in this city for schools.
This really is about values and priorities. So often, when we go to the mayor and say, here's something we need, here's a need in the community, we need more schools, we need more classrooms, we need more science labs, and what we hear back is, well, yes, those would be nice, but where are you going to find the money? Well, here's the money. We found it. They're putting it into a new jail and a huge jail expansion. That's where the money is. It's going there instead of the schools. And to me, this is a no-brainer.
And when we talk about making trade-offs, this is a trade-off that should be made. A trade-off of spending less money on prisons and more money on schools. The other way around is simply unconscionable.
Budgets are about priorities. There's no doubt about that. And this administration clearly has the wrong priorities in mind when it put together this terrible plan to build these essentially 2 new jails, brand new jails in the city. Let's forget for a second that we're cutting across the board. Let's forget for a second that we're cutting hundreds of millions of dollars out of the education system to build new schools. It's still a bad plan. $900 million to add on to a jail system that is so capacious that a fifth of it is vacant is crazy. And we do not support it in Brooklyn, we do not support it in the Bronx, we do not support it across the city. And we're here today to make sure the mayor hears us. It's not too late. We have some time. Let's take this bad plan out of the budget. Let's put in money for schools. Let's make sure we build them before it's too late.
Just this year, children once again and their parents are in a frenzy and a tizzy, not knowing whether or not kindergarteners, first graders, pre-kindergarteners will have a place in a school in proximity to where they live. That is unacceptable. This current plan perpetuates those unacceptable conditions in many parts of the city. Shame on us. This is worse even than some of the budget cuts to education, as bad as they are, and to other vital cuts which we're fighting and which we must restore, because this is a 5-year plan. And a plan, P-L-A-N, is supposed to look ahead and look forward and reasonably estimate and project needs and provide for them. This does not do that.
Let's not approve a budget for jails in Brooklyn and the Bronx. Let's approve schools across the city of New York.
Build schools, not prisons. Build schools, not prisons.